Thanks, Peter. Good morning, everybody. I love your slides because it's so fascinating the way public space works and, what works and doesn't work and how complex it is. I think we're probably all united by a love of public space and a love of how it works. So my job is going to be to summarize a little bit of what we're going to do over the next couple of days. We're having a meeting of a database group, and Peter alluded to it earlier. Let me get my slides up here. And I'm going to recapitulate a little of what Peter was just talking about. There we go. Okay, so this database is really about curation, about assembling a lot of the knowledge that we have about public space. And as I think everybody in this room knows, and Peter alluded to, it's very fragmented. There are many different disciplines. There's a lot of knowledge, but it's not clearly organized and unified. And so that's one of the things we're really focused on, is how can we gather up this information and make it available to decision makers, policy people, designers, implementers. And as Peter said, it's part of the evolution of from the former Future of Places conference series to now the Center for the Future of Places based at KTH. And the conference was really, many of you were part of it, I know. It was really an impressive gathering of over 1,500 researchers and professionals and government leaders, 275 organizations, 100 countries. And again, all focused on public space and why it's important, how it works, and so on. So the hub is now at KTH for the center and for this project. And as Peter alluded to, we did get some of the language into the new urban agenda, which I think is very important. It's a real milestone in terms of what's in the new urban agenda, not just about public space as an amenity, but as a kind of network, a system that's of well-connected parts that has all these multi-purpose uses and so on. And similar language in the Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see, the language is mirrored there, and that was something that we and our UN Habitat colleagues worked on very hard also. And so some of the benefits that are listed in the new urban agenda of public space are things like social interaction, human health, economic exchange, cultural expression, and so on and so on. A lot of stuff in there about the importance of public space and the benefits of good quality public space. But getting the language adopted is one thing, as we all know, and actually achieving those goals is something else altogether. And so we have to answer, what are we talking about with public space? What kind of structure does it have? Why does that matter? What are the benefits? What's the evidence for the benefits, not just the claims? How does it function? How does it fail, or how does it succeed? And how can we create or manage or steward public space? And especially, how do we gather and share this knowledge between disciplines, between countries, between different actors and who are all engaged in public space, especially in this moment in history when I think we all recognize that public space is in an alarming state of decline around the world, with gated communities and privatized shopping malls and informal settlements that lack good quality public space, and many of our models that we're still dealing with from over a century ago that really don't have good quality public space as a kind of active phenomenon, the way Peter described it earlier. So excuse me for the text-heavy nature of these slides. I'm just going to summarize these briefly. But the mission is really then to collect and curate, starting with at least the most relevant empirical research on public space from different academic fields, to merge it into a body of knowledge that, as I said, will be useful for people who are actually implementing. And then we can use that body, that repository, to develop policy guidance documents, research reports, papers, books, guidelines, and so on. And in turn, those projects can serve as research case studies. So it's really about research into practice and back into research. It's not about research for its own sake. A couple more slides. I don't want to take a lot of time with this, but, and Peter alluded to this also, that we desperately need a more interdisciplinary gathering of knowledge about public space. We almost need a new discipline of public space, I think, which is cross-disciplinary by nature. And so because we don't have that, we're still making a lot of the same mistakes over and over again, and we see that right around the world today. And we need to have not only the knowledge, but the knowledge among many different stakeholders, all with their own agendas, their own know-how, and so on and so forth, all the people who are involved in that, in the creation and maintenance of public space. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying, at least this is an interesting grand experiment, you might say, to see if we can merge at least a working repository and maybe, evolving that over time, bringing together the people, many of the people in this room, and I hope many of you, others as well as time goes on, to be able to develop this resource, to synthesize it, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the methodology, but we're looking at the sort of key concepts, the metadata that we can draw out and identify key subjects for research and identify gaps in the research and perhaps commission new research if that's needed. Just a couple of quick screenshots. This is from the old database system. We now have another system, and there's been some debate about the platform, which we can continue to talk about. But again, talking about things like the benefits or the problems, the challenges, the sense of community, restorative activities, real estate value, safety, and so on and so forth. That's what one of the records looks like. It actually has the original research literature, the paper that you can access and read, and we can make that available to policymakers and others who want to know what's in it for me. Why should I believe your claim? Well, here's the research literature, and so on. So we have 14 organizing categories, familiar to many of you: urban form, design, human experience, social relations, and so on. And do we have this online somewhere that maybe people can, if they want to look? Yeah, we'll give you some links to have a look at it, and we welcome your comments. And again, we hope you will all join us at some point in this work. Thank you very much.